Welcome to part 2 of building your very first AI agent in Voiceflow. In this video, you'll see how to make your agent listen to the user, determine their intent, then take specific actions based on what the user says. Let's get started. Welcome back to Voiceflow. This is part 2 of a little series I'm doing on Voiceflow. If you haven't seen part 1, go back and see it for sure. I'll put the link below. And then if you haven't connected your bot to a phone line, you can do that by also looking at the link below. I included a video on that, which I highly recommend. Now, in order to understand intents, we're going to go through something I'm working on for a client. This is a real life example, and it starts off just like we used last time, the start button, with a message block. So imagine this is just the start of the conversation, whether this is making a call or starting a text conversation, or it's someone is calling it's basically the same. So the conversation is triggered by somebody making a phone call, and then it introduces itself by saying, "Hello, I'm Jim Blakemore's AI mistress, and he's got me locked in this tiny box until I can confirm that I have your information correct." So it's kind of silly and trying to break the ice there for my client. So it's also something I recommend is just tell people that it's an AI, because number one, if they realize after even just 10 seconds that it's an AI and you were trying to pull one over on them, then it'll lose a lot of trust. Even if it's just 10 seconds, right? The longer that it is that they go, if it's five minutes, for example, and then they find out, they can sometimes feel really weird and icky about that. So I would totally go for honesty and transparency and candidness when it comes to whether or not to tell them it is an AI bot. Now, yes, some people will not notice. Some people will not realize that. They'll hang up. They'll pick up the phone. They'll have the conversation. They'll hang up the phone. They'll be happy that they just talked to a human, except it wasn't really a human. It was an AI, and they'll go on their merry way. But a lot of the time you will have people who will find out. They'll realize partway through the conversation, oh, this is an AI, and this is indeed an AI, and you just don't want to have the situation where you are kind of fooling people. Okay, so next is our question. Is now a good time to confirm that I have your correct email address, right? So we're asking this question, and then we have our little connector going to a router. I call this a router. That's kind of my term. That's not a Voiceflow term. They call it a choice or a list of intents or triggers. But think of it as a router where you have this question, right? And now you're listening. So the AI has said something, and then the human says something. It doesn't really show the human saying something, right? But this is the AI listening in. This is the part that the AI does. It listens, and the way that it listens, it doesn't actually listen. It actually transcribes it, okay? So it transcribes a bit of that phone call, the response from the human, into a transcript. So think of it as a little box in the middle here where there's a transcript of what the human said, and then the AI is going to kind of run this through a filter or a router and say, did the human say no? Did the human say not right now? Did the human say, I'm confused? Did the human say, how do I know this is really Jim Blakemore? Or did it say like, oh, okay, or yes, right? And so that's kind of what it's asking. It's trying to figure out, what is the user saying? How can I categorize this and then take different actions depending on the result? So I have 4 different actions here, depending on what type of response we get. And we can even go and clean this up a little bit more. There's some things I'll show you, some ways to kind of look at it and evaluate how good your intent triggers are. So let's look at the first one. And so the no, okay, so it opens up. These are another thing they call this is, if I didn't mention, is choice. So it is a choice block. And these are different types of triggers. These intents are different types of triggers. They trigger different actions. So we're going to click on the first one here. It is no. And in order to edit it or to see the details, we click on the pencil and we go in and we can see the description first. That trigger this intent when the user responds negatively, is frustrated, angry, or mean. And this is like the, okay, we should hang up now. We should give up now. We don't want to frustrate this person on the contact list. We've got a few thousand of these to do, and we don't want to create enemies through these calls. And so this is the cue to hang up. Okay. And so if the user says any of these things, I don't want to have this conversation. Absolutely not. I don't want to talk to you. I'd rather not engage with an AI. Any of these things. I don't like AI. I don't trust you. Nope, not at all. In fact, we can see even more examples there. If you want more examples, if you mouse over this generate button, you can create 5, 10, 20 more. And some of them may be good. Some of them probably will be bad. And so you want to edit those and make sure that I'll just do it here so you can see generate 5 more examples, and the little spinny guy goes, and these are 5 more. So I choose not to participate. That's okay. I prefer not to respond. I'm declining your request. I'm not interested. Oh, that's a really good one actually that I didn't have before. No, thank you. I don't know why I didn't have that one before, but these are all like really good examples of things that people could say that now that we've delineated these, the call agent will be able to more easily, the AI, the large language model, the LLM will be able to say, did what is this person saying? Are they saying that they don't want to talk to me? And indeed, that's what we're trying to find out. So we've actually improved this a little bit, and we can close it. So that is what happens. So that's what we're looking for there. And if they are saying no, if it indeed says, I think they're saying no, then it goes down this little pathway. And note that I have colored this connector red. In order to change the color of a connector, just click on the connector, click the little color, and then you can pick one. You can make new colors. I just picked the red one because it's like, this is the no category. And I had the 3 colors in order to kind of show, to keep it straight in my mind and be able to more visually kind of tell what's going on from a moment's notice. And if I left this and then I came back to it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I understand what's going on here. Or I had somebody else work on it, same thing. So now this block I've labeled AI encourages the contact to reach out to Jim directly. So it kind of backpedals a little bit. If the answer is no and they're like, I'm not interested, then I'd say, got it. That's no problem at all. If you want, you can contact Jim directly with your best email address, and he will update your records manually. So it's basically telling them again why you're calling and letting them go, right? And so there's probably going to be, and then it's going to hang up. Actually, boom. There's no goodbyes there that I've built in yet. So potentially that could be softened, but moving on. So the next one is the not right now. Okay. And this is a different scenario, because as I click on it and we go to the not right now, we're going to look at the details here. Could I call you back later? Now is not a good time, right? It's all about like, I'm busy now, right? And let's just generate 5 more of these and take a look at them. It's not the best time to talk right now. It's a really good one. I'm currently occupied. Can we chat later? I mean, this is like the sort of thing someone would say. I don't know if people say that exact thing, but I suppose some people would. I'm currently occupied. It's kind of formal language, but whatever. I'm tied up at the moment. Can we postpone? That something like that could be said. Can we schedule for another time? And the that's I don't know if I'm going to schedule a call for another time, but anyway, I'm in the middle of something. Can we talk later? Oh, that's a really good one. So those 5 are just fantastic. I'm glad I clicked that little button there. If we wanted to see them all, we can click this, and there we go. So we can see a whole bunch of examples there. I forgot to mention the description here, and this one, it seems like the user, I should say in the beginning, trigger this intent if it seems like the user might want to talk about this later, just not right at the moment. All right, so we're going to close this one. No need to save. It just automatically saves everything. And if that's the case, then it's going to say, that's no problem. I'll call you back later. Thanks. Have a great day. Click, right? And that's it. So yeah, I could probably like slide some goodbyes into there, but I think it's an AI. It's okay, like to just hang up quickly, like for iteration number 1. And that's going to have a different flow. It's basically going to say, call this person back. It's going to put some data into the spreadsheet that we're using into the database, and it's going to say, call this person back, right? It's going to flag it for a callback later on. And so that's a different flow, right? So that's a different workflow that we will work on later. So the next thing is this confusion, or how do I know this is really Jim Blakemore. And so it goes to this message block that says a clear explanation of what is happening. Okay. So in this case, it says, well, we'll see. Well, you see, I'm an AI agent. Jim Blakemore is paying me for to make a few calls for him. I don't charge much, and the call is actually free for you, of course. Anywho, Jim asked me to confirm that I have the right email address for you, right? So um, now this is when they're like, wait, what's going on here? And so it re-explains, okay, it explains what's going on in a little more detail than it did at first, and then I've hooked up the connector here to go down and back. And if we follow it through, it goes right back to that beginning place where we started from. Is now a good time to confirm that I have your correct email address? So this is, it sounds really great. If you need to check how one of these sounds, you just click the little play button there and it gives you a preview of how it sounds. I love it. And you can both play it and stop it. Once it gets going, you can be like, oh, no, I'm done with that one. So I love that you can preview it there and then you can see kind of how it sounds and if the tone kind of makes sense. So then the next part is okay or yes. And my thinking is I probably don't need both of these. If we look at okay, let's look at the details here. So, okay, I guess so. I'll try. If you say so, let's do it. I guess so. Okay, sure. Now is good. Right. So it's a bunch of these. And it really doesn't matter a ton whether I have this one or this one, the yes. So let's look at this one. Affirmative. You're right. Correct. That's absolutely right. Agreed by all means. So this is like slightly more positive, but I don't think I need both of these. So what I'm going to do is actually going to click the little minus sign here because I don't need it. And I'm just going to look at the okay one a little for another minute. And I'm going to generate some more. I suppose, if that's what you want, I'm on board. Sure, why not? So these are basically statements of agreement. Um, so I'm gonna call this one yes, just for clarity. And then I didn't have a description here, so I'm gonna say trigger this intent if the user says they are okay to move forward, or even if they don't object. So it's just like if they don't object and it's okay, like they're just going to move forward. All right. So then if they do say yes, and I've made this, hopefully I've made this a little quicker so that it's easier and faster for the bot to respond. I don't like, I haven't tested out like, ooh, is 5 much faster than 6? I don't know, but we're going to go in here and if it's the simpler that you can get these, the better. So this message block then says the title of the message block. Again, the user doesn't see this part in gray, but it says AI is excited to confirm the email, right? So it's just telling what this is doing, what the purpose of the message block is. It says, alrighty then, I'm so excited to see the light of day. And so this is playing on this idea that it's, this little box, it's trapped in a little box. So I've colored that connector green in order to remind myself, okay, yes, this is the positive, the affirmative, and then I can connect that with bringing in that email address in order to confirm it, which I'll cover in the next video. Another thing that I've done here really quick is I've made a visual kind of progression of the more to the right the box is, the more like positive it is towards getting the job done that I'm trying to get done, getting the task done that I'm trying to get done. So the furthest to the left, the least progress to the right, if you think of it as like a horse race, is this one where they're like, nope, like dead in the water, like nothing's happening here. And then these two are like, okay, well, they're okay, maybe. And so I'm going to call them back. Then this one says, okay, like, it's re-explaining. It's still not really gotten anywhere, but it's a little better than dead in the water. And then, it puts it back here. And so really, did we go anywhere? It's like one step forward, two steps back, so to speak. That's exactly what's happening, actually. But then this is like we made it through this initial router, and it's like, okay, let's off to the races. Like, here we go. We're gonna do something here. So this one's furthest to the right. So if I want to run it, I can, of course, push the run test button, and the dialog's going to show the new session started, the beginning of the workflow, and then it's giving me this initial thing. And so if I say, okay, then it's going to think through this, and you can see it tested these. It used RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, of all the data that I stored inside of these options, these intent triggers, and then it said how much of these that each one was kind of like triggered, like how much am I triggered? And the no and none was triggered like just under half, from kind of a passive state, like, oh, okay. The top one was, it was 93% yes. It's like, that's pretty much like a yes, not 100%, but probably the most, right? And then it used Claude 3.5 Haiku in order to do this, and you can change that in the settings. So a nice little report here. Predicted intent, what is the yes, right? So, and then it responds with it routes it down to that message block there, and it responds, alrighty then, I'm so excited to see the light of day. So it repeated exactly what I wanted it to. So there's no path connected there, which we know, but it behaved exactly as we wanted. If we wanted it to test it again, we can retest and run the test, and it's going to do the same thing. And we can test it out by saying, let's say, not sure. Let's see what it does. I'm hoping that it goes kind of to the confusion one. Excellent, it did. So it went to the confusion one, and then you can see that so confusion slash, didn't not sure they trust it. Those are the two options there, and let's see, yep, it called it confusion, so that's really good. And then it bounces back to that initial question, which is routed back along that gray pathway there, and that's exactly what we wanted. And so let's say that this time we say, we'll say, oh, okay, yeah. And so let's see, it said 64% yes, which is what we're looking for. And that's exactly what we intended to communicate, if you will, as a human. And so it routes it to that alrighty then. And that's exactly what happened. So this went really well in our two tests here. And that's how to know if you've kind of done a good job. So I'm going to save both of those, and test saved to conversations, right? So now, and I'm clicking on the canvas as I showed you last time. If this doesn't go away, then just go ahead and click on one of these and then click it again, and it goes away. So that is intent. If you were building another router, another set of triggers with intent that trigger different intent, then you may want to use some of the same ones later on in your workflow, somewhere else, and you don't have to build them from scratch. You'll be able to, like there, if we build a new one, select intent, and then we have some options there. Now, the thing that is kind of weird is that it doesn't include all these ones that we've created in the list here. But let's just see if we search for and that one's too long. I'm just going to search for no. Okay, so I'm searching for no. No, it doesn't come up. So that, I think, is kind of like glitchy. And so, if you can't find it, like you might try and like copy and paste it or something like that. Like I don't know how to get it there, but that's one like just like irritating thing that I found about this. Everything else I love, and I hope you have a great time applying these intents to your call bot that you're working on, or whatever kind of project you're in. These intents are really interesting because, like I said before, you take this router and you can do different things with it. You can specialize each direction, and you can even make more workflows or more agents come off of each of these. So very powerful tool here, very powerful functionality. And let me know in the comments if you have any questions, or if you'd like any other specific future videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.